And welcome to another edition of Seattle Sounds here on 97.3 KIRO FM. I'm Josh Kearns. My co-host Chris Cornelis from Seattle Weekly has the week off. He's over in Montana. And rolling us in there, this is new CD by great local band Crown Hill. If you haven't heard of them, I strongly encourage you to check them out, if for no other reason than because my buddy Mike Sievers is the co-founder, co-songwriter, performer on this. And Mike joining us in studio here on Seattle Sounds. Hey, Mike, this thing sounds great. Congratulations.
Thank you, Josh. Thank you so much.
Now, you guys have been around town for quite a while, haven't you?
Yeah, we actually started the band about 6 years ago, my friend Tom and I, and it took a little while, to get to this point. We started out just doing songs between the two of us, sort of piano and guitar mostly, and playing some smaller rooms around town. And then over the years, kind of built up a repertoire of songs and brought a bass player in and started playing with drummers. And then we got to the 4 or 5 year point. It was sort of like, hey, people were sort of asking us, where's your CD? And we never had one to give anybody, so it was sort of like, it's time for us to do this.
Well, I think, and one of the reasons I wanted to talk to you, and what's interesting is, well, first of all, a CD. Who does CDs anymore? And then second of all, the bigger reality is, how do you actually pay for a CD?
Right.
And you use something that a lot of bands are doing these days, which is Kickstarter. And, anybody who's younger is very familiar with Kickstarter. But for those who might not know what that is, just give us a quick summary of how Kickstarter works, what it is.
Yeah, well, Kickstarter is a website that allows you to post a project. It could be a film you're trying to make or an art project of any kind, really. There's a lot of bands that post projects where they want to raise money to record an album. And it lets you kind of reach out and draw people into a central place where you can raise money. And the idea is, it's sort of like sponsoring public radio or something, where, okay, if you spend $25, we'll give you the CD when it's done. So you give us that money now, it helps us pay for the studio time, and then the CD goes to you when it's finished. And then at different levels of investment, we'd offer a few more goodies, at $50 you get a poster, or at $75 you get a t-shirt with it, so little prizes to kind of give an incentive to people. But mostly what you find is that people want to support local music. And so it's a great way to give your friends and family and fans that opportunity.
We're talking to Mike Sievers from the band Crown Hill, Seattle band. New album is out. Is it just self-titled? We just call it Crown Hill?
Yeah, that's it for now. Let's get a title for the next one.
So I got to ask, Mike, I'm really curious. I played in bands for years also, and it was tough to get anybody to actually buy your CD once it was done.
Yeah.
What did it take to get people to actually contribute up front? I mean, the notion that I'm going to give you something later on that you might want to listen to. I don't know. I think that would be a hard sell.
Yeah, and, people definitely have different views on the Kickstarter concept. There's a lot of worthwhile charities and things that people want to do for themselves with their own money. This is really for people who have supported us along the way. I think having a 5-year history with the band helped. People understood that we weren't just sort of trying to throw something together, that we had put in a lot of work on the songs and the music and rehearsing musicians, and they knew that we were serious about it. So when the time came that we made the ask, people were ready to give.
Yeah. So how much did you guys actually set the budget out? What was the goal in order to make the CD?
We set a goal at $4,000, which was to include tracking the album, mixing, mastering, and printing the CD. And we raised a little bit more than that. Closer to $5,000. And we've spent a little bit more than that when you get through all of the costs of shipping the CDs, making T-shirts to fulfill our promises on Kickstarter and all that stuff. It's added up to a little more than that, but definitely, the majority of our costs have been covered by our friends and family and listeners who've invested in the project.
Talking to Mike Sievers from the band Crown Hill about their new CD that's just out, and about Kickstarter and in this new way or evolving way that bands are using to fund their different projects. And I want to get back into the numbers on Kickstarter in a minute, but first, Mike, since so many people donate, let's listen to a little bit of this.
Yeah, let's do.
Fire up a little bit from the CD and tell us about it.
Okay. Yeah, this next song here I'll play for you is one of the ones we've been doing for a few years now. It's a song that I wrote and sang, and it's called Perfect Contradiction.
Fire it up.
I've got myself an affliction. I'm so lonely I don't want to take your call. It's a perfect contradiction, and I wonder why you even bother at all.
That sounds great. Mike Sievers from the band Crown Hill with us here on Seattle Sounds on 97.3 KIRO FM. I'm Josh Kearns. And Mike, I find it interesting. I was looking through some stats in Kickstarter, and when you go to their site, 14,000 music projects, it was saying, have been funded so far, or projects were created with a success rate of just 54%. So not everybody is willing to do it. Did you have to go out then and launch a whole other campaign? Did Kickstarter do the pushing for you? How did you actually even get people to the site to consider your plan?
Right. We absolutely had to launch a campaign just to get people there. So one of the first things that Kickstarter tells you on the website when you set up a project is that you need to make a video. And that just lets people see who you are, and it kind of shows that you're serious about it. You know, and it's more effective than just seeing words on a page. So we went and produced a video, went to the studio where we eventually recorded the album, which is the Track Shack in Columbia City, with our engineer, Matt Brown. And we just sat down and shot a video of us talking about the project, basically posting the video on Kickstarter and trying to get people out there through Facebook, through emails. And we also put together a show where we said all the money that we raise during the show will go towards the project. And it was sort of just like this, trying to create an awareness of the project through internet, social media, and actually doing a show to sort of get people amped up about it.
Talking to Mike Sievers from the band Crown Hill. New CD is just out, and a lot of you probably helped pay for that. I was looking too, it makes sense to me that indie music is the most highly funded or most successfully funded of the projects. 17% of all of the music projects. Rock music, 15%. Country, 11%. But then conversely, what surprised me somewhat, you'd figure, this is obviously a technology play in a lot of parts, young person's play, and yet electro and hip-hop, where you would think that would merge perfectly with the tech-savvy crowd, if you will. Only 2% of the projects got funded, or of the projects that were successfully funded on Kickstarter were indie and all of that. So do you think that this is a model that is resonant across the board, or only in certain genres, or with even a certain demographic of people?
I don't know. I guess, maybe there's a socioeconomic component there. You need to travel in circles with people who have money to throw at you. So maybe some of those folks didn't have the support network that we did. But I think, as far as types of music and different kinds of projects that could be done, I think it's across the board.
Now, what is the deal with Kickstarter? You put out a goal. Do you have to set a deadline, or could you say, I'm going to keep doing this until, if it takes me 50 years to get enough money to do what I want to do? Yeah,
you have to set a goal because...
or a deadline.
And a deadline, yes. And they set it up that way, I think because they want to make sure that you have some idea of how much money you actually need. And it sort of forces you to say, this is really what we need to make this project successful. And if you don't raise your full amount, Kickstarter doesn't give you any of the amount. So if people have even pledged to support you, if the full goal isn't raised, then everyone gets their money back. I guess it gives people a feeling that if the project can't be launched, then that money won't be used for something else. So we set a goal for $4,000, and we actually set our deadline to 2 months, which is the longest deadline you can create on the website, or at least it was. And we were shocked that within a week or two, we were most of the way there. The support really just jumped out at us, and it was really kind of overwhelming. And and wonderful, you know.
How much do you think bands are doing this to actually make a product that they can sell versus just paying for something they really love doing? I mean, you don't have any grandiose visions of this is going to become your job, for example, right?
No, that's not really.
You're going to make $1 million.
That's not really where we're coming from. You know, we all work 9-to-5 jobs, and this is our passion for us, you know. So it was really just a kind of a lifelong dream to go into the studio and book some time and actually be able to afford to print an album. And it's something that our supporters helped us do in a kind of an amazing way. Would you do it again? Well, we're already looking forward to doing the next record because you learn so much through the process, you know. I don't know if we would do another Kickstarter ask. It feels a little bit like something you do once in a while, you know, but you know, if we were able to reach out to a different audience, you know, maybe that would be appropriate. We'll have to see how it goes. Cool. Hey, will you play a little bit more for us? Mike Sievers is with Crown Hill. The new CD is just out. Funding was helped by a lot of folks on Kickstarter. How many people total contributed? About 50 people. Yeah. Oh, so that not even that much comparatively speaking, because I'm looking at some of these numbers where I see thousands of people get into projects. So, you know, it doesn't take much math to figure out that's about $100 a person, you know, and that's more than we expected. You know, we expected people might throw down $20-$30, and people just overwhelmed us with the love and support they gave, you know, in terms of financial support. Pretty amazing. Yeah. And Mike, if people want to learn more about the band, where can they find you guys? They can go to crownhillband.com, look us up on Facebook, and please come out and see us August 16th at Columbia City Theater. All right. Well, let's listen to what are we going to hear now? Cool. This is a song called Songbird. It's a little bit of a change from our usual thing, a little bit more funk for you.
I believe in something I can't quite explain.
Well, there you go. Want to make an album? Just go on Kickstarter and join the successfully funded projects like Crown Hill. Mike Sievers from Crown Hill with us. Mike, thanks a lot. And I hope that a lot more people have a chance now to take in your great music because you had a chance to do this project. Thanks, Josh. I appreciate it a lot. And when we come back on Seattle Sounds, somebody who has sold maybe a few more CDs than Crown Hill, Ramsey Lewis, legendary piano player, coming to town next week. He's, I think, made like 80 albums or something over his storied career. Of that and a lot more, you're listening to the all-new 97.3 KIRO FM Weekends, driven by Cooney Westside Infinity in Linwood and CooneyInfinity.com.